Hello and welcome to FBL's coronavirus update with Aylesbury and Mike Smith. He's joining us on the line now. Here he is. Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Good evening, Martin. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Getting there, enjoying the sun. So
it's been good, hasn't it, lately?
It has. I've got to admit, I've been doing a little bit of Stansted Raceways. I've been out in the sun, and as you can tell, I got my hair cut, and there's some really bad white bits behind. So I won't turn around. A lot's been going on, really. We haven't spoken for like 4 weeks, have we, really? So
long, really.
Yeah, it really has. So I mean, you was away, and then obviously things happened. So how was your holiday and all that? Was it all good? Did we speak?
My holiday was absolutely lovely. Yes, spent a few days down on the south coast of Sussex, at Winchelsea, just away from it all, out in the country, down by the sea. Just what I needed for a break.
I miss the sea. I don't know if you know this, or many people might not if they watch this from abroad, especially. Aston Clinton, which is just up the road, we're talking like literally a couple of miles, aren't we? Is the furthest away from the sea level, from sea, I believe, in the UK.
That is right.
Yeah,
and that is the reason why we have our annual Aylesbury on Sea event, because Aylesbury is also about as far as from the sea as you can get, and we thought there's probably a lot of kids in Aylesbury don't get the chance to go to the sea, so we're bringing seaside to them.
That's a very good point.
We put a beach in Baur Park, we have donkey rides, we have Punch and Judy shows, we have the whole lot.
I've got to admit, that is one. I mean, I haven't been able to live broadcast one yet, and I speak to Ruth and the team, and it's like, oh no, that's on something else when I've got to do something else somewhere else. And it is a shame, because it is an amazing thing to obviously see. I mean, speaking to your team on all the work that they do behind the scenes that people don't even realise, and obviously get people helping out and, you know, suppliers and stuff. But it is a massive transformation, isn't it, of the Vale Park? I mean, you have to really think hard. You know what I mean? You know, you can imagine you woke up one morning and you looked out the window, you'd be like, am I in Aylesbury? That's that sort of thing. That the transformation is just unreal.
Yeah, and the kids love it. The adults love it. It's just a shame we couldn't do it this year because of coronavirus, but we hope to bring it back next year and every year we can.
Is that you?
What's that?
There's a little noise in the background. Never mind. Sound like a Hoover or something.
Oh, sorry about that. Maybe my computer's getting hot and the fan's kicking in.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Okay, not a problem. So shall we quickly move on, if you don't mind me asking, or maybe saying, is COVID. We've got problems with it, I believe, now, since we last spoke. Obviously, the numbers were staying low, but now they're going up. So if I just quickly jump on my share the screen thing, let's quickly go through the details. Should be popping up now. Here we go. Yeah, that was quite impressive. Come on. I'm only using, oh, by the way, I'm only using one screen now, people, at the moment, while I recreate a studio here, especially for the likes of everybody at home. So we've got like 41,788 total deaths. So and that is up since the 14-day trend. So that's 11 new deaths. So total confirmed cases 398,000. So we're nearly hitting the 400,000 mark. So that's quite worried, isn't it? That's just.
I think that's very worrying compared to, well, if it was 4 weeks ago we last spoke, we were almost thinking we were getting to the point where we weren't going to talk about coronavirus very much and we turn it into a general update. And now it's definitely top of the agenda again, with that 3,000 to 4,000 cases a day for certainly the last few days. And experts warning that at this rate of growth, we could hit 50,000 a day and be back up to level 4 on the scale, which potentially means tougher restrictions once again.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you say that about that level. I mean, at the bottom, it does state the UK coronavirus alert level moving to 4, meaning transmission is high or rising exponentially, Chief Medical Officer says. So it's, you know, I love it when I play around with my new tech. I lost where I was then. So not too many. That's why I love 2 screens or 3 screens. You know, I can move stuff around. Yeah, that's quite worrying. You know, I mean, they're saying that, but I did also notice, if I could just quickly go back to this bit here, if I scroll down a bit, I mean, obviously, well, first of all, we'll touch on Buckinghamshire, 12 cases per 100,000, which doesn't really mean much, I would say, to most people. Would you not? I mean, there's 500,000 people in the Buckinghamshire county. So if somebody said to me, you know, we're going to have what 60 cases out of 500,000, doesn't sound like much, and that's a worrying thought as well.
Yeah, I mean, that figure, it's kind of hard to take in unless you start comparing Buckinghamshire to other places. And there are certainly a lot of places where the figure is double that and more, and obviously places in the north of England where it's jumped quite alarmingly in the space of a few days. So
I could show you.
Got to watch out that growth rate doesn't get out of hand.
Well, yeah, the 7-day average is what, 3,679. It's saying, but this is the daily confirmed cases rising sharply. Again, this is all on the BBC site. But the bit that you're talking about, hey, is the 50,000 by mid-October. That's what they're talking to ONS and everything about. But the 7-day average, here we go, daily hospital admissions is 233. But the hotspots, now this is an interesting bit here. So this is, again, on the BBC coronavirus update sort of page, where you get to look at, make it a bit bigger so that you can see it as well, Mayor. So you can see Buckinghamshire shows cases per 100,000, 11. So that's between the 9th of September and the 15th. So actually, if you look around, let's get rid of that. We've got, we're in the 10 to 24 bracket, I believe, aren't we? Yeah. There's 25 to 49, which is basically, if we click here, we've got Runnymede, and I think this is, I love tech. There we go, Windsor and Maidenhead. So they're not far away. They're actually quite close. So people go between different areas, don't they? So obviously transmission can raise quite a lot. Also, you've got London. People from.
Funny enough, I was in Runnymede yesterday.
It's
where my partner's mother lived. We were in her back garden, socially distanced, but yeah, she did remark that the figure's been increasing there, and it's a worry how in this modern world, as we all travel about so much, hotspots in one place can quickly move if people aren't showing the right behaviours. So I think we've all got to take notice of that.
Yeah, it goes without saying. But I mean, another interesting thing that hit the press last week was Regeneron antibody therapeutic. Now, where have we heard that from?
I think you may have mentioned it once or twice, Martin.
Well, 6 months ago, yeah. So I contacted Jacob, and I did say, I'm sorry that Centrevax didn't obviously get the contract. He said he's going to reach out to the government, whether that's again or not, I don't know, regarding Centrevax, because, I mean, we're talking 6 months. I've contacted MPs. I think I've gone beyond my duty as a citizen to, allow, certain representatives to know what is out there and the potential to fix things. A 20-minute cure for COVID. I find it unbelievable. Now, again, you are in the politics area. I do find that Centrevax isn't on the stock market, but Regeneron is.
Okay.
So what people can make of that, I don't know. But maybe you can have a word with Rob or
suggesting money talks or business clout talks at the end of the day, doesn't it?
It does worry me. It's something I will bring up with any of the MPs when I bump into them, which I'm sure will happen as I start to become more and more mobile. So it's a worrying thing that I've been banging on about it for quite a long time. Whether people thought, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's weird that when I saw it come on the screen, I was a bit like, oh, okay. Is there something I've missed? Because I have been busy, and then when it's a Regeneron, I was a little bit like, hang on, I think that's one of the ones with the stock market, and I was right. So again, it's a sorry state of affairs.
Same product, different company.
Basically,
essentially the same.
Yeah. I mean, what will be interesting is I don't know about the test. I haven't got to that far into looking into all their stuff. But Centevax is 97% effective, as done by the American military scientists independent research facility. So you got to ask yourself what tests have been done on the Regeneron one, and I think they've been up there anyway, to be honest, like with Centevax. So but it's just interesting they're on the stock market. So yeah, it's just very worrying that I make 1 + 1 might make 3. I might be totally wrong, but it does hold out that because the biggest thing is if we've got somebody who's producing a drug, and is going to sell it basically just a little bit above cost, to one that's selling it at a massive cost, way above cost, then we're paying out for something that we can get cheaper. It's like if you went in. I mean, one of the biggest problems we have, or should I say, local suppliers, is the big corporates like your Tesco's, your Sainsbury's. They can buy products in a lot cheaper. So by them having their products, they can make it cheaper, but it is more expensive. But this is the other way round, because we've got, we've actually got somebody who can produce a hell of a lot. Instead of it making it cheaper for us to have, they're going to put on a big, massive,
If they've got the monopoly, then they might exploit that. And this is one of those situations where I don't think the free market should be left to its own devices. I think the government or regulators need to step in and say, hang on, this is a national crisis, a time of need. We'll let you cover your costs, but you're not going to make.
Well, especially if they've received a donation from the UK government as well. This is, the extraordinary part. I mean, I look at it as that they've received the money, and then all of a sudden they've been told, here's a load of money, go and research, obviously, a COVID vaccine. And then they're going to come back and sell it at a higher cost. It's like, well, shouldn't really be done. A bit like the banks, when we bailed out the banks back in 2008, it's they started paying themselves, the bankers a lot of money before they'd pay back the government, which wasn't right. But there we go. But that's one thing. So if we quickly go back, because I kind of went off topic there. Sorry, apologies. So we can see that around the region and in the UK, you can see the yellow ones, which are 50 or more. I mean, like you're saying, going in and out. I mean, I've been going to Stansted, live streaming the banger racing, which is quite amazing. I can't believe how much they do actually crash into each other. It's quite crazy, but I love it. I do love it. I mean, do you see lockdown coming to Buckinghamshire or to the Aylesbury Vale? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything. Based on those numbers, I don't think we would be high up the list for a local lockdown. I think it's going to be interesting what the government decides in the next week or so, because I think to avoid that exponential climb in cases, they're going to have to do something fairly strong. They've already said that workplaces are going to continue, things that affect the economy are going to be allowed to continue, schools are allowed to continue. So that gives them a limited number of things that they can act upon. We've got the rule of 6 now, so you can't gather in groups of more than 6 indoor or outdoor, with a certain number of exceptions, including voluntary work, which means the Aylesbury Wombles can still go out and do their thing. But I'll be very interested in seeing what the next round of restrictions is going to be. And this is not surprising. The second wave is a feature of these kind of pandemics. We've seen it in other countries. I think to some extent it's down to people's behaviour. To some extent it's changing the weather and the virus mutating. Is it down to things that the government have done that weren't done strongly enough or quickly enough? we can speculate on all that, but I think we've got to look forward and say we need to get it back under control, and that's going to need something pretty strong.
So you reckon total lockdown then again? Or they call it a circuit break, don't they?
Yeah, so it's not lockdown in that you can't go to work, you can't go to school. Those things have been pretty much carved out, but whether that will mean not gathering in parks or travelling to another place to visit other people, or travelling to another place to do your hours daily exercise, the kind of things that we had back in March in the early start of the first lockdown. I don't know, I'm no expert and I'm not in tune with what the government is thinking or saying, but I'm sure those kind of things will be on the list to be considered.
Well, yeah, so are you not part of any, obviously, you know, you're part of a political party. Are you not in discussions with the other parties, like obviously the Conservatives, in regards to any of the things that are going on?
Not directly. There are various sort of umbrella bodies for local government. So, for example, the National Association of Local Councils has given strong instructions to local councils that they should continue holding their meetings online. I think a few weeks back, they were saying, well, if you have a suitable room where you can socially distance and have a meeting of a small number of councillors, you have got the option to do it as a physical meeting. That hasn't actually happened with us on Aylesbury Town Council yet, but now they're saying, no, that's not permitted. You've got to stick with online meetings. And with Buckinghamshire Council, where there is something like 202 members, you'd need to have a football stadium. So that's not going to be happening.
Well, I don't know. Well, we used to have a football stadium. I believe they're trying to get that back. I don't know how that's all going to happen. Obviously down the Fairford Leeds area with the Aylesbury United. But yeah, 202. Yeah, I don't think they're going to fit them in a small little room, especially the room that you have at the or town offices, which is a lovely room, by the way, which is great. Is there anything else you want to add regarding the COVID outbreak and, you know, anything Aylesbury Vale is doing maybe to, I don't know, try and help more, or, you know?
Well, we're listening very carefully to what comes out of government announcements every day. We've already decided that our events programme is going to have to stay on hold until this side of Christmas. I think a little while back when we cancelled Live in the Park for the bank holiday weekend, we were still hopeful that pre-Christmas events might be feasible. Things like Remembrance Sunday, where you get a big crowd in Market Square. We will still want to mark Remembrance Sunday as we always do, but it's going to have to be a much more scaled down and very carefully managed affair. So I think what we're trying to do is send a signal to the public that we don't like doing this, but this is what's got to be done, and please follow suit in your other dealings in life. Don't be tempted to gather in too large groups or have too many people around your house. I know people have got used to having a bit more freedom, and tightening up again is going to feel probably even worse than it did the first time, because the first time it was a bit of a novelty and people realised it was a crisis we were dealing with. And I think now some people are thinking, well, I haven't got it, I don't know anyone that's got it, it may be not as bad as they're saying, so I'll just take the risk. But as we've said all through, it's not just them taking the risk for themselves, it's taking the risk as to who they might pass it on to that might be a lot more vulnerable.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've got herd immunity. You know, that's something I believe the government's trying to push forward with. You know, behind the scenes, so to speak. So people going out and exposing themselves isn't that much if they haven't got any underlying conditions. You know, I do think shielding should continue and shielded properly so that people, you know, financially as well, because a lot of restrictions have been, since we last spoke, there's been quite a lot of movement with a lot of stuff. I mean, one of the things I will say as well, as Ben Maggots, as I hope that's right, Ben. He wants us to talk about Mix 96. We'll talk about that. That's down in my notes for a little bit later. But there's been a lot of movement, a lot of stuff of people being able to do certain things and get, you know, and do what they want to do. But I don't know if they've stopped it or they put a pause and allowed it to continue. But it was this shielding. I know a lot of people who are shielding. They're coming out and they're finally getting out there, and they love, you know, obviously the bit of fresh air. They don't feel as bad, but they really are like worried. They are seriously worried about obviously catching it, especially if they've got some kind of lung condition. So, as always, it's a hard thing. I mean, the government's turning around and saying, we're going to lock you down, but we're going to lock you down at home, but you can go to work. You know, they want it both ways. That's like having your cake and eat it, isn't it? So you can see why people wouldn't really want to toe the line, so to speak. And also, they just probably don't care as well. So there is that.
Some don't care, but others will say, quite rightly, and it's quite hard to explain the logic of why pubs are still open, restaurants are still open, but groups of more than six are not permitted, but schools with groups of a lot more than that, and
20 odd, isn't it?
kids who are, well, just won't understand social distancing because they're kids.
No, exactly.
Being taught by teachers who then have to interact with their elderly relatives or other people in their family. And so I think people are saying, well, it's going to spread, whether it's me going around my friend's house for a few pints and watching the football, or via a school or a workplace. And I don't know whether the government is right in saying, well, they're not even saying there's less risk. They're saying there's probably as much risk, but they need to do that because they feel they need to keep the economy going forward or stopping it grinding to a halt.
Yeah, but
people will understand that. People who've lost their jobs or been on furlough for months will say, well, I want the economy to get moving as well.
yeah, they do. But I also know people are saying they want everybody to be safe, you know, obviously with the shielding. So it is a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other as well. So I believe that is your fan kicking in. It sounds like a siren, by the way.
It sounds really quiet here, but it's obviously it must be close to the microphone or something.
It is. It must be. It's all right. It's all right. I'll just quickly bring up on the screen just before we come off of the COVID stuff. Yeah, so we've got Newport, Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester, Newcastle, Glasgow, and Belfast. I believe this is local rules announcements or are in place. So yeah, they are bringing stuff in, and it will be in a county near you if the R number keeps on increasing. And there was another thing on this site, just quickly. The death rates remain low, stands to 22, but where is it? There we go. This is what I was. Now, last time we spoke, we were below the 1 mark. We were here. Southeast was here, wasn't it? If you remember, we were actually quite far away from that line compared to all the other areas. But now we've jumped. We've jumped. You know what I mean? We're up to the 1.1 to 1.4, which means it is increasing.
Yeah, and it's increasing. It looks like every part of the country, almost every part, has got that number very clearly above 1, which means it's increasing everywhere. And I presume that means it could much more easily spread between different parts of the country. So, we could be in line for some fairly drastic lockdown measures.
We could, unless the government's and I nearly said antivirus. The government went ahead with its drug, didn't it? Which has then got recalled because one of the patients got ill. And now they're going through with this antibody. And I got to admit, antibody therapeutic is 20 minutes before it starts fighting. So if the government pushes hard and pushes quick, and I mean they're going for clinical trials, the same as the Centre-Vax as well. It's not that much of a worry. It becomes what I said 6 months ago in regards to it'll be available at the hospitals. I did have an argument with a Cambridge professor who deals with, for instance, dealing with antibodies and their construction and how they build them in the silos and stuff. And he will say there's an economic, impact or eco impact, as well as obviously it's quite expensive. But I said, how can you say it's quite expensive compared to how much money in the world has disappeared and how much we have to borrow and how much we have to pay on interest, the amount of business that has been lost. And he then threw out the card, I'm a professor at the Cambridge University. And then I said, well, come on a show then and we'll discuss the financials of it, the impact. And which he never got back to me. Interesting. So,
well, it's interesting. But you're right, the economy has shrunk by the largest amount in, I don't know how many decades.
We're in a recession.
And that is billions. That's in fact that's probably tens or hundreds of billions that's been lost in the economy. So an investment of millions or even a billion or more than 1 billion in developing whatever medical technology will do the job of bringing it under control seems like it makes sense to me.
So would you agree, like, I think it was like 2 months ago when I told you, and I said it was 97% effective. I did alert all the MPs in the Buckinghamshire area. So would you agree that actually they should have pulled their finger out, done something about it, and contacted Centre-Vax then? Because this, I personally think if they had done that, it would be, you wouldn't worry about catching it. It'd be like catching, I don't know, something where you go in, your tetanus jab. Going every 5 years, every tetanus jab. That's how I look at it. That's how, I see this being used. It's a bit like you are that ill, you need to be hospitalized. Okay, you need this drug. So how can it be going to a company that's on the stock market? I find unbelievable. And the amount of money that has been wasted so far and lives that have been lost. It will be a question I ask our Prime Minister if I ever bump into him.
I think you should, yes. I mean, it does. I don't know the full facts and figures. I did do a bit of a look when you first mentioned it to me. But the thing that surprised me is why wasn't the government trying every possible avenue?
But they were.
Putting their eggs into a few baskets in terms of businesses that perhaps looked, the most economically strong or maybe shouted the loudest for their attention. Don't know.
It is wrong. It is wrong. And again, I'll take it up with our MPs as well. I will say, I've tweeted them. I've done what I can, and no reply. This total not going to reply to that. Just like, really? What? But again, Greg's got a few questions to answer when, I do bump into him.
He's talked to you for quite a long while. It's interesting that you're getting no response now, or when questions are a bit more challenging.
I mean, anybody who hasn't, obviously, if maybe you're watching this for the first time, especially Ben, I've not seen your name before. Go look at the channel. There's a load of stuff on there. One of them was obviously about the Discharge Act. Basically came on when 99% of the hospitals were, the patients in there were told to get out, basically. 50% went back to home. The other 49% went back to the social setting. So I did say to him, look, do you think the government has actually caused the COVID infections back to the social setting? Which he went, well, I can't deny that. So after that interview, it's been quite quiet. So I think
he maybe had his knuckles wrapped by the PM, because the PM, in response to that same sort of question, seemed to be blaming the care homes and blaming everyone but the government, who actually clearly directed that policy.
Yeah, I mean, It goes back to the centre backs thing where I said about Chris Whittier and all the other people on the board and the scientists. And I said, well, because you just educate them. Maybe they don't know of centre backs, so educate them to this drug. You know, whether or not he did or didn't, we don't know. But obviously, Regeneron have educated. But yeah, weird, very weird. But again, he will bump into me at some point, and Rob has never ever got back to me and all the requests I've sent out. And his team did reach out once, but they never did after that. But we'll see. So we quickly move on, if you don't mind. First of all, I know Ben wants to talk. George, shall we talk quickly about Mix 96, if that's all right? I was going to go on to Youth Concern. Actually, no, we'll do Youth Concern first, because has the money, I mean, because that's your chosen charity. Let's do that first. Has the funds gone up, the donations? Have you hit, was it 20,000 or something we were talking about last time?
I'm pretty sure we have hit 20,000 now. I haven't been given the figures as of today, but since we were about 19,400 in May, and individual donations and bits of extra money coming in from some of the fundraising pre-May has definitely pushed that above 20,000.
So that's good then.
As I've now got potentially a bit more time in the role as mayor. Nobody's asking me to step down yet, so
I don't think anybody.
I'm going to use that opportunity to keep raising the profile of Youth Concern and see if we can pull in more money, because the need for their service sadly it doesn't look like it will ever end, so they need a continued flow of income to be able to continue delivering that. So I'll do my best to keep that going.
Okay, right. I mean, I will try and do something down there. I mean, you'll send me contact details, and I'll see what I can do about popping down there and doing a video as well. I'll try and do it when I'm doing Aylesbury Wombles and also Youth Concern as well. I did say that before. But I mean, they're doing some quality work. I mean, restrictions have been lifted, so they're doing a lot more now. Is the centre open and stuff like that?
The drop-in centre is now open. It's all socially distanced. You obviously managing the numbers and trying to, although it's a drop-in centre, trying to get people to at least give an indication of when they might be dropping in, so they have an idea of the numbers that will be in at any one time. But I think the most important thing from that is that those young people who are struggling with mental health issues and all kinds of other issues can now have a face-to-face chat with someone who really gets those issues and understands and can not only listen but offer some good advice and point them in the direction of what they can do to help themselves. So I think it's been great that they've managed to keep going during lockdown with the phone advice and the Zoom call advice, but there is no substitute for actually sitting in front of a person and being able to talk directly to them, and that's the thing that Youth Concern does absolutely brilliantly.
I can imagine that they do. I mean, I can't wait to chat to them and obviously speak on how well, any way I can help to promote and show what they do, and obviously see if we can raise some money for them as well. So we'll see. Mix 96. We'll get to it. I mean, Ben, did I miss the part about Mix 96 closing? It's a shame. It's just become a regional station. No shows are done from Aylesbury anymore. We are broadcasted from Bristol and so on. Or they are broadcasted from Bristol. So, I mean, we touched on this last time. I mean, Mix 96 has now officially closed, hasn't it? So
it's now become Greatest Hits Radio. The feedback on Facebook and elsewhere I hear is people have tried giving it a listen. It's not the same. Doesn't feel like a local station anymore. The news still mentions Aylesbury now and again, but it's focused on 3 counties rather than just Buckinghamshire. And the rest of the programming, I think it might even be broadcast from somewhere down on the south coast. So there's no local feel to it. So real disappointment that battle wasn't won. But so many other stations around the country were fighting the way we were, and have ended up with the same result. But it's brought communities together. There's a lot of people out there who've learned a bit about how radio works and have an increasing interest in local radio. And as we've said before, we're hoping that something might grow out of that would give us back another local radio station for Aylesbury.
Well, like I said, I'm pulling out a few things from my chest of tricks and stuff and see what I can do. Yeah, it's something. I mean, Ben's putting down here. Hi, Ben, by the way. A good piece of history that will be missed. And it's I mean, I never really listened to Mix 96 because my car can never pick it up, and I didn't listen to it at home. But I know loads of people who do, especially my partner, and they really do feel. And I know local radio is very important. You know, it has a major. Well, so it's the heart of the community, isn't it, as well? So to be fair, you know, I've done my time on radio stations, and you know, and I've loved them. You know, I love the communication I've had with people as well. So how I, from a business point of view, try and fill that gap, I'm working hard on. But I can't, you know, I can't believe that all around the UK, how many local stations are actually being lost, and it's not right. And I mean, I looked at the contract and saw the change that the licensing body just basically said, yeah, you can, you know, I mean, the total change from this is what they do to that is, you know, I mean, it's no longer local, is it? It's just national. And
it doesn't make you wonder what the regulators and the licensing bodies are there for if it's not to keep the identity of something that really matters to local communities. And if they're just turning it into something that's the same as you can hear anywhere in the country, then why don't we just have national radio? I think having a station that really focused on Aylesbury and Aylesbury Vale was absolutely brilliant. It was 2 days before Mix 96 closed as Mix 96. We were doing not live in the park. Mm-hmm. So because we had to go off live in the park, we were doing it by video performances. They called me into the studio, did an interview. I plugged the event, and we had a really, really good audience listening in and watching from home. So we were able to keep the spirit of that going. And without that local station giving us that extra plug, I don't think it would have been that as successful as it has been. So I'm really disappointed we haven't got Mix 96 anymore.
An interesting question coming from the live in the park scenario. Obviously, they sponsored the Mix 96 stage. So have you reached out yet talking about next year's live in the park and whether or not they'll be sponsoring it? Have you spoke to them about that?
We're starting to make plans for next year's live in the park. Haven't been directly involved in those up to now, but there is certainly talk of doing an event at least as big as the one last year, with 2, possibly even 3 stages. Ooh. And sponsorship will be vital to upscale it in that way. If Great Six Radio is interested in talking to us and supporting us in the way that Mix 96 used to do, that would be great. I don't know. I will find out from our team who are starting to pull the sponsorship side together. Next time we chat, I'll let you know how that's going.
Okay, because it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? If they want a
great signal to send out that GHR, they're saying they want to continue supporting local communities and local events. They can demonstrate it by getting involved in Live in the Park if they want to.
That will be an interesting one, won't it? I look forward to that next update. Yeah. Let's see if their money is where their mouth is, shall we? The Wombles. That's another thing on my list of things. By the way, Ben, if you've got any other questions, let us know. We can obviously ask them there. He is still here. Have you been out? Have you been catching up with the Wombles? How they're getting on?
Yeah, I've been out wombling a few times myself, using the the kit that Aylesbury Town Council presented to them. So they've now got well over 50 sets of litter pickers and high-vis jackets to identify them as a womble. And we're now getting groups of up to 40 going out different parts of town every weekend. And there's a big focus on it this month because September is a national event, community cleanups.
Oh, okay.
Which hopefully will get even more people interested in cleaning up their community. It's being advertised through the town council, and we're happy to lend our equipment out to other groups, not just the Wombles. But I was out the last Wednesday. I couldn't make the session with the main Wombles, so I grabbed a bag and a picker, and I went up my road, and I went round the corner, I went round a few other streets, just by myself, filling up 4 bags over the course of an evening.
Wow.
And during that time I was out about 2 hours, with 5 different people that came out of their houses or came across the street when they saw me and said, thank you for what you're doing. So we are being appreciated.
Oh, that's good.
And it's different to the town. It really does start to, I hope, restore a sense of pride. And there will always be people that drop litter, but hopefully at least a few of them will start to look around and say, this place looks tidier. It looks like the kind of place that people care about, and I'll buy into that. And I won't drop litter. So maybe it's a naive hope, but we feel that it's worth having a go at.
I'll tell you what would be interesting. Here. Collect all the litter up, and then obviously turn it upside down, empty it all out, and see what organisations are actually creating the litter. And then maybe I'll do that with the Wombles when I go and see them. Get them to they'll probably hate me for doing it, but it'll be interesting.
I think that there'll be some recurring themes.
Yes,
a certain
fast
chain
food.
of burger restaurants, their litter is everywhere. When I was out the other night, when I picked up my 4th dropped face mask, because that's a real blight at the moment, I started counting, and by the end of the 2 hours, I picked up 23 of them.
I'm going to admit, I went
gloves, 6 car air fresheners. 7. I almost started composing a kind of 12 Days of Christmas type song, 12 Days of Wombling, all the different things that you pick up.
You should do that. I think that'd be quite fun. I'll edit it. We'll get it out there. We'll put it on YouTube. That'd be great fun.
It could be a bit of a fundraiser as well.
Interesting. That should be diverted. My apologies, Matt. You say there's a recurring thing, a certain burger branch. Is there anything else that's a constant in the litter picking?
Fag butts.
Oh, okay. Right.
Fag butts are small, but and therefore difficult to pick up. But once you start picking them up, you realise how many there are. And I did read, this was a while back, I can't remember, that nationally the estimated tonnage of litter created by cigarette butts, and it does run into tons.
Okay.
You cannot believe that a little lightweight thing like that, there are so many of them that they actually add up to tons of litter. And they don't biodegrade. They look horrible, smell
Do
horrible.
they not? I thought the butts did.
The tips or they don't quickly.
Okay.
That's one of my pet hates, particularly when you find a place where, often by a bus stop, 20 or 30 fag butts, it can take you quite a while to pick those up individually and get them in your bag.
Okay, I am a smoker, I have to admit that, and I will make sure that doesn't happen with me. So that is, it's quite, you put it like that, it's a very interesting thing that when you mount them up, and did you say by a bin, by any chance, just then?
There was quite a concentration of them by a bus stop not far from where I'm not sure if there is a bin there. but certainly you can get litter dropped within a yard or two of a bin. And sometimes the bins are full and people put the litter beside the bin because the magic bin fairies are going to just deal with it. But other times, even if the bin is not full, even if there's plenty of room, they still chuck their litter on the ground.
Yeah, it is a worry when you see overfilled bins, but people say, well, they should be emptied. I mean, but that also comes at a cost. It's like how often do you want them emptied? Is there I don't know if there is a tax for local authorities on fast food restaurants and stuff like that, who probably add to the problems that you're discussing.
There needs to be something. One of the ideas that I read recently, I don't know if it's being put into practice, is the drive-through. I almost said the Mac word in, but we know who we're talking about. That they were going to print the registration number of the car on the bottom of the bag for their drive-through, so that if they then dump it somewhere else, it can be traced back to who's done it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I would support.
Now, I'll tell you something that's interesting. So Ed Gemmell stood as candidate in High Wycombe. Known Ed for a good couple of years now. And he was going into a certain establishment, and he was actually using his own. He was. I don't want any of that cardboard or paper or anything. The amount of waste that causes, and they did actually put it in his reusable containers, and they had no problem with that. So I don't know, because of COVID, whether or not they can do that now, but that is something to think about. Is reusing a container for a certain, or any of the
ideas like that are great. It was probably about this time last year that I helped to launch the refill Aylesbury.
Oh, the water.
So rather than go and buy a bottle of water and chuck the bottle away afterwards, or even if you put it in your recycling, there's the cost and energy used to recycle it. Carry your own water bottle with you. I think it's probably the majority of shops and establishments in town offered to refill with tap water anyone that went in. Probably not something they're able to do now with coronavirus and risk of passing on infections, but hopefully that will continue once we're through this situation, and that's a really simple yet very effective idea.
Yeah, I think that
would be extended to other products.
Yeah,
Take my own glass when I go to the pub and say, fill that up.
Yeah, but your glass is about 4 pints worth. Yeah, that's a jug. No, it's a pint, sir.
It's not a bucket. It's only a glass.
A 10 of them lined up. Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I like to say taking a pint. I mean, I take a flask with me. I say flask, but one of those coffee flask things. For even if I'm going into Costa or something like that, I'll take that in there and say, especially if I'm out in my camper van, which people will probably see me driving around in now. Thank you to my daughter for also painting the sides. To me, it was interesting because I think it was like 60p cheaper or something for a Costa. When I went in there and I was like, can I use my reuse? They're like, yeah. And actually I had on the sign there. And I mean, the work that Ed Gemmell did in getting, non-disposable cup day out there, and I obviously helped as well. But it was quite impressive to go into, a major service station on one of the motorways, and then you actually see that they're actually showing on there, reusable cup, 60p cheaper. It's like, it was something like, it might even be 30p, I can't remember, but it's still that little bit cheaper, isn't it? Just to get your coffee, and all it is you're just taking a cup with it. It's not hard work. So, I mean, the biggest thing is football as well. My son plays football, so when you go out to there, I mean, they're not doing it due to COVID at the moment, but I'd always say, can you, I take my first cup home, from home. I'll be drinking that in my flask, and then it'll be like half time. I'll get another coffee, and I'll just fill it up, and then they're happy to do that. But just those little things in life do mean a lot. They can. If everybody starts doing it, it can be very good for the environment.
Absolutely. And if people start getting into the habit themselves and seeing other people do it, I think if you're the only one doing it, well, if you're very committed, you might still do it, but then you might get some funny looks. And he's a bit of an oddball for doing that.
I get that all the time.
If and when it becomes the norm, then it just has a knock-on effect. And small things like that make enough of a difference. Most of us can't make a big difference, but if we can make a small difference, we'll happily do it. And lots of small differences add up to a lot.
They do. I mean, that's why I like doing what I do. I get out there. I live broadcast quite a lot of stuff, and I get a little comment on there that says, this is brilliant. Thank you very much. Made my day, or I wouldn't have been able to do this. And I think, yeah, that's cool. It's nice. Bit of a trailblazer. I like to get things sorted. Okay, we're done in the gate. Wombles, Live in the Park. Obviously, eco stuff as well. Ben's not come back with any questions. Is there any other things you'd like to talk about before we approach our hour? I mean, our time goes quick when we talk. I've got to admit. Time
flies when you're having fun. So
exactly.
We must be having a lot of fun.
Well, that's my side. I don't know from you.
I enjoy every moment.
Okay, that's all right. I'd be worried then. You might come back and say, no, it drags on about 4 hours. It feels like that.
No, as always, it's been lots of fun. It's been good to catch up after a bit of a break, and sad that we're seeing a rise in cases and anticipating an extension of lockdown or tighter measures, but we'll have to follow developments, hopefully help to get the message out there as to what people need to do, and hope that people out there can stay safe and continue going about as much of normal life as they can, but understand the old normal isn't going to be back for a while. So let's all play our part, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Again, Centre-Vax, that's really what we want. Or Regeneron's antibody treatment. I do think that's going to be the ball changer. Literally, it's going to be, it's going to take away the care, so to speak. People won't worry so much, and that's what we kind of need to do. Only 1% of the world is actually affected to a very bad degree by coronavirus. So let's hope that the trials that are going ahead at the moment, or human trials, will actually, come through okay. But like I said, Centre-Vax is reaching out to the UK government themselves. Let's see if they'll actually listen to them now. Maybe they'll take on both. So I don't know. But 97.
Yeah, as I say, try every avenue, and we're going to need a lot. When we know what an effective product is, we're going to need a lot of it. So anybody that's able to participate in getting that out there, particularly if it helps to keep the costs down and nobody's exploiting that market, then we should go for it.
Definitely. And to me, like I say, I mean, if you get coronavirus, chances are some are not going to know they got it, but some are going to know that they got it, and then some obviously are going to be hospitalized. And that's the people who really need that drug, and or treatment, so to speak. It's one that is taking the worry away. I know that's the biggest thing. Is take the worry away, and then people will, the world will get, it'll just get back to normal. So we'll see. So hopefully in a couple of weeks when we catch up next, you'll be able to give me an update on Mix 96. Greatest Hits Radio, on whether or not they're going to reach out and help you next year with Live in the Park. Proms in the Park as well, quickly. Missing that this year as well, by the way.
Yeah, all part of the same big weekend of entertainment, which we've absolutely loved putting on for, I don't know how many years it is now, probably. Well, I've been on the town council for coming up for 20 years, and I think we've done those weekend events for pretty much all of those years. Live in the Park was originally Hobble on the Cobbles in Market Square. We took it to the park to make it more family friendly and accessible for people with disabilities, etc. And it's just grown and grown. So having to not put it on this year just makes us all the more determined to try and make it the biggest and best we can next year.
Yeah.
So anyone out there that wants to help with sponsorship or get involved, contact me or the town council team.
Definitely. Yeah, just website. Is it Aylesbury Vale District Council.co.uk?
No, that's the old one that's gone. Aylesbury Town Council.gov.uk.
See, lucky. See how I plugged that. Get it in there. Okay, Mayor Mike Smith, thank you very much for your time. And once again, it's been emotional. It's been really good and nice to catch up. And I look forward to our update in a couple of weeks.
Thanks a lot, Martin.
Okay, bye-bye.